Most people feel stuck and isolated because they avoid the hard conversations that can bring healing. On Let's Get Real with Miles Burris, we tackle life's challenges like motherhood, mental health, and relationships, so you can break free, find healing, and move forward. Because in order to heal, we have to get real. So pull up a chair and let's dive in. What happens when you finally reach the dream that you've spent years chasing and it still doesn't fulfill you in the ways that you hoped it would? Today, I'm really excited for this conversation because I get to sit down with someone that I know very, very well. It's my husband, Miles Burris. Miles is a former NFL linebacker and is now an actor in Hollywood. From the outside, it might seem like a dream life, the kind that most people could only imagine. But today we're talking about the real story, what chasing big dreams actually costs, how it impacts your identity, and what success looks like when you get there and you still feel like something's missing. Beyond all the accomplishments and titles, Miles is someone who's wrestled with identity, ambition, and purpose in really honest ways. And that is why I want to have this conversation. Not just to celebrate the successes, but to get real about the parts that most people don't see. So before we dive in, Miles, for people who don't know you personally, can you share a little bit about who you are today and what you're passionate about?
Yeah, those are big questions. Who I am today, well, I'm a family man.
Yes.
I'm your husband. I'm a father. I'm still an actor. I'm a man of God. I am doing more in the online space, just as you are right now. Here we are doing it in online stuff. And what I'm passionate about?
Yeah.
I'm passionate about, and kind of always have been passionate about, maximizing potential, and what's the word I'm looking for? Just making the most of what you've got of excellence, Mm-hmm. And so people that see me online will often think, oh, this guy's just a goofball. He must be a goofball all the time. And then they'll see me, not in front of a camera, and he's more serious sometimes. And I'm an ambitious goofball, essentially, but I'm also an introvert, so
you are, yeah.
I can do people, I can turn it on, but that really drains me. And solitude is how I kind of fill back up. Yeah. But yeah, I love my family. I love life, love the Lord, and grateful to be alive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. Thanks for sharing that. I can attest to it too. It's almost like the picture I have for you as to the passion of like excellence. And it's really in a lot of different ways, but it's almost like the desire to wring out a towel, like every last drop, to really maximize the most of who you are and really cultivating the gifts and just different aspects that make you you. So it's been really neat to watch because we've been together 20 years. So for 2 decades, I've got to like a front row seat to watch this unfold since we were 16.
Yeah.
We have a lot of history together.
Lots.
So throughout the rest of this episode, we are going to talk about the big wins, but even more the losses and the internal battles that success doesn't solve. We'll also have some fun at the end because you will get to see a little bit more of his sense of humor too. So I'm excited for that. All right. I want to start back to 5th grade. That's when you put on pads, like for the first time in football, and you're like, yep, this is it. I want to go to the NFL. At some point in the journey of your pursuit to play in the NFL, when you look back, how did you originally define success when you were starting out in football?
That's a good question. Well, when I first started out in football, I had no idea any of the rules. I didn't know what a first down was. I didn't understand even fully that I wasn't a start. I was a par player, so I played the least amount of snaps that every kid had to play each game because, their parents are paying for them to be able to play the sport, and you have to let each kid play, 10 snaps or more a game. And I was really simply just a par player because I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea how to play the game of football or the rules or positions. Like my first day in pads, I had the most fun of my life, but I was I was tackling offensive linemen, just anybody without the ball, and the coaches were cracking up and loving it. They're like, oh, just the guy with the ball, buddy, but I was like faster than everybody and really big and strong and just loved hitting. So it was still my favorite sport, and I immediately was just like, man, I just want to go to the NFL. That was it. And so in that first year, I was also playing with older kids because I was bigger. So I had to play, a grade up from all my friends. So really for me, it was just like, I don't really remember my idea of success then, other than just like, I guess, I'm having fun and running around and beating everybody in the sprints at the end of practice. And I kind of dropped the question a little bit.
Well, I'm wondering if even early on, right? Like, what was it when you had the thought, I want to play in the NFL, and you were in 5th grade? What was it when you thought about that? Like, why? Why did you want to play in the NFL at that age?
Probably for a lot of the same reasons that any kid wants to be a professional athlete, and they see the guys on TV and they're these big, just superheroes essentially that are real, they're big and they're, doing amazing things and on top of the sport at the highest level of the sport that you can possibly do. It's like the highest attainable thing that you can do in that realm. And so if you love something, you're super passionate about it. It's like, well, yeah, it's why I'd never entertained any ideas of like playing in the CFL after the NFL when offers would come. It's like, no, why would I? Like, you can never pay me to go any amount of money to go play at something that's not the top of the top. Otherwise, what's the point if you're not going to maximize your potential of knowing you could be there?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was kind of my idea with football. Is just you want to do it and do it at the highest possible level. Especially if you believe that you can get there, because that means that you have kind of maximized your potential and wrung out that rag.
Yeah, so it's like the challenge of what that means to get to that point. It's coming back to excellence. It's coming back to saying, like, I want to see like how much of me like can be expressed in competing with and getting to see like at that top level with the other guys there. Like you wouldn't know if you didn't get to have that chance, basically. Like there's something to aim at.
Yeah.
So even though you can't think of necessarily early on, like how you define success when it comes to the NFL, can you think of a point, even if it wasn't until you were an adult, whether it was college or any time in that kind of time frame, like how you define success in your pursuit of the NFL, or once you got there, like just kind of thinking of what success meant to you?
Yeah, I always set goals kind of before every season. Thinking, okay, if I average 10 tackles a game, then, there'll be 100 some odd tackles this season. And based on, leaders of last year, that should put me in the top, people in those ranges. And that means that, I'll be one of the top players and maybe I'll have a better chance at scholarships or going to the NFL or things like that. So I kind of always had numbers and metrics of goals built in, and whether I was kind of living up to those or falling short was often how I defined it.
Yeah. Okay. So through the measurements of the goals, that's kind of how you helped yourself create milestones and define, like, are you succeeding or are you not based off of that? Okay. Yeah. Awesome. So you reach the NFL, which is a dream that very, very few people get to live. I think it's something like 0.01% of the population. It's very small. What did it feel like once you actually got there?
Fast. Everything went really fast. So fast that you don't really, at least I never felt like I had the ability to fully, it never really fully hit me, all the things that were happening and how big of a deal it was. It did for my family, and they're like, man, I can't believe Miles got drafted and he did this, he's starting. And for me, it would be like, man, it's just this whirlwind, boom, I'm right in front of Peyton Manning as he's barking out the cadence. And you just there's so much to prepare for you. There's so much to learn. You don't have any time to like take it in and smell the roses. At least I didn't feel like I did. Even that thought never really crossed my mind. I never felt like I was missing out on anything. I just like, there's too much to do. You got to keep going.
Yeah. And your schedule's packed too. I feel like just from watching this happen, there's so much demanded of you. And then you have your whole schedule laid out as on top of the things that you then are like, hey, I need to do this to feel prepared for the next game or to take it into practice the next day. So yeah, I could definitely see how it's a whirlwind that you just get thrown into and you just don't even have time to really process what happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what was a moment that you realized, all right, I'm here, I've achieved my dreams, what I thought, success was for me, but then you realize that this doesn't fix everything?
I don't know if there wasn't ever like a hard-hitting moment or an acute moment of this doesn't fix everything. I still feel X, Y, and Z. If anything, that a piece of that or a version of that is there the whole way. Even if you're the best on your team, you're looking at some of the other guys and the numbers that they have and thinking like, well, shit, I'm not keeping up with Luke Kuechly or this, that,
Yeah.
So there's always somebody better, and you're always trying to strive for more. And first you get there and you're just like, man, before the draft, you're like, man, I hope I go high. I was thinking third round, and the Raiders passed on me in the third round. They picked me in the fourth, and it's like you still have that like chip of should have gone, on round 3. You get there and you're like, man, I got to try to make the team, and you do, and then I'm starting day 1 and start my whole rookie season. Then you start immediately thinking like, okay, that's great, but like, I want to make it to the next level and the next level. And there's that kind of competitive edge that's really great, but it's an ever seeking for more kind of edge to constantly improve and be unsettled in the current moment, because now you want to be in the Pro Bowl or in All Pro, and you want to make it to that next contract. And so there was always kind of it's very high pressure. It's a very unnerving, unpredictable, unstable career. At any time, my knee could get blown out and it could be over. At any time, they could trade you, cut you. You could be the man this year and next year get benched or have a couple bad games. And now it's just, what have you done for me lately? You're not a great player in the eyes of the world. So you're just always kind of on edge, and you don't want to relax. You don't really want to take that away. And there's unhealthy lines of it for sure, because too much of that, now you're not really playing free. Now the stakes are too high. And if you make any mistake, now you're overanalyzing. The worst thing to do on the field is overanalyze and think. You want to be instinctual and reactive and free, and have fun and have a certain mix of like carelessness in some ways. Like you care deeply about everything, but if you can get your mind to the state of like, I'm flying around out there, it's one play at a time. Yeah, I don't care. I'm just a wild man. You know? Then you can play better. But if you make it too big, then it slows you down, and counterintuitively it makes you worse.
Right. Well, and I think what's interesting is for so many years, it was always like, what's the next thing? What's the next level? So when you're in Pee-wees, it's like, hey, I want to make the high school team. And then you play in the high school team, I want to play varsity, and I want to start. And I need to start this many games so I can hopefully get a scholarship. So it's this constant, like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? With the big end goal of the NFL. And then you get there and you spent so many years doing that. It's really hard to not, because that's not been conditioned. It's habitual. And in that place, it's like you achieve this dream, but realizing, like you said, feeling so unsettled because there is zero security. So it's really hard to sink in. It's like you think, oh, once I arrive here, I'll feel, X, Y, and Z. Like I'll feel like I've made it and I'm worth something, and like things are going to be taken care of. I'll have less worries, whatever. But it doesn't end, because it's the chase. It's like there's always living in the gap of like, okay, I'm here. I can't appreciate or value the progress I've made because, again, there's no security, and I have to figure out what I need to do to somehow maintain security, which is elusive, and that must be by hitting the next. And it's just interesting too how, because in football there's like, it's all stats. So it's objective. You can look at the numbers like you and Luke Kuechly when as both linebackers and say like, how many tackles did he make that game? Like, and then where am I? So it's just so hard. And you realize really quick, like, that's what it just sounds like. You just realize it's never ending. Like it's not going to fix the stuff like I thought it would. There will always be something my brain will come up with that will keep me from being able to settle into right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's exactly that.
Yeah. All right. I want to talk about after football. So in transitioning into acting, what was it like to start over after the NFL?
Well, it was transitioning out of the NFL was a different process for me. And in some ways it wasn't. There's a lot of football players that, they get cut or released or injured, and you're in this limbo of this weird state of like, no, I can play again. And
yeah,
teams are reaching out to you. So you're like, yeah, I guess I got to keep training. So it was like a 2-year process, being released injured, taking about a year to get healthy from the knee injury, taking workouts for about a year after that. So it was a 2-year window of trying to remain hopeful when you don't have a job and you have no idea when phone calls or workouts are coming, and you're keeping tabs on linebackers getting injured and hitting your age up and all those things. So, it was devastating when I had the Minnesota mini camp and my knee blew up to the size of a softball day one, and I realized, oh shoot, it's over. And I finished the camp up and got home, and as you know, I was really down and depressed and just watching Parks and Rec on the couch and for at least a day or two. And, you got me going on the acting and got me helped on moving towards something else. Got into class and got immediately opened several doors of booking most of my first auditions and getting a taste right away on like a real big budget project, kind of, the NFL in some ways of that world of like, it's better that I didn't go to like some student project or some low budget Indian that's just some kids with a camcorder, I'd be like, what am I doing, But I got to a legit set, and the first guy I meet is Randall Park, is the lead of the show, and we're in a scene with him, or we're rehearsing, and he cracks up laughing as soon as I talk because I did a weird accent. And I was like, oh, okay, I can move on from football. So, because a lot of the fear you have is like, man, this is all you've done. All you've done is be a football player, is be known as Miles the football player. And you've made a lot of sacrifices and not really, at least myself, didn't have time to like build other crafts, other means of like, I know I'm going to do this when I'm done. It was just laser focus, push everything else away. So you're starting from nothing at the bottom of a totem pole and wondering like, I don't know what's next. And I also don't know or believe that I'll have passion like this, you know, for work ever again. So like, that's scary. And then when I felt it, that kind of electricity of being around people and lighting people up and just entertaining and having to do it in the moment and the pressure, that, like, it was like, oh wow, I can do this and not get beat the hell out of by 300-pound man, just mammoths of people. So then it was like, oh, football's behind me. And that was the great part of it. The not so great part of it was like then having to learn like, oh, what the actor's life really looks like, because I was booking everything. And then you just like, I didn't work for 5 or 6 months. And I'm like, what?
Yes.
I thought I was going to be a superhero in 6 months. Why am I not working?
Which now you realize how ridiculous that sounds, but then
you don't know.
You don't know, and you really applied the athlete mindset of like, hey, if I do like I did going into the gym and creating a whole program and working out and getting bigger and all these things, like faster, all this stuff, it will help me get the job. And you applied that in acting and then realized this is a very different industry. It's art. It's not objective. It's subjective.
Yeah.
And then it's a lot of droughts.
And there's way less that you have control of.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not a meritocracy. It's not the best guy gets the job. The best guy is the starter. And it's obvious and objective who's making more plays and what the numbers are and who's faster. And yet I approached it that way because I thought if it works in football, making it to the NFL is one of the hardest things in the world to do. It's,
Yeah.
top of the top world-class athletes. And I went there and I started if I just do the same thing I did to get to the NFL in Hollywood, I'm going to get there.
Right.
And that's what I did. I went to countless acting classes, went to conservatory, trained thousands of hours, and spent tens of thousands of dollars on all of it. And just like I would on my body, flying around to Utah and all these different states on my off day, not telling the team because I'm getting prolozone injections and stem cell. Like, took the same mindset to the craft.
Yeah.
And realized, dude, it's just not. Over many years, had to learn the hard way. Like, even pushed away social media and all the online stuff. Things could look very different now if I applied it to something that was more in my control.
Right.
I can throw out as many posts as I want to, but in acting, you can't strum up your own auditions. You can't be the desperate actor making cold calls and doing this, that. Like, you don't know when your agent's going to come through. You don't know when the right role is going to come across your desk. And now, there's different levels of hard. I've done enough now where I'm auditioning for things that are simultaneously being offered out to big time names that don't have to audition. So if any one of them doesn't have a schedule conflict and wants to take it and says yes, even if I'm pinned, which happened for a Universal movie recently, they get it. Yeah. And I'm unpinned. And I don't, so that's pushed me into much more of this now because, anyways, anybody watching, if you're trying to go into Hollywood, just do something else at the same time that you do have control of, even if it's not work related, because you're going to have a much better mental health state.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so true. Yeah, because the thing that is interesting to note with what you're saying is what for you and any other pro athlete, their ability, like your ability to stay that laser focused and say no to anything else that's distracting and would pull you from that, which is very hard. Most people won't do. That's why most people are not pro athletes and have never experienced that. So that's why you were able to succeed at such a high level. It's one of the main reasons. And so being able to apply that to this industry, you would think it would do the same, but like you're saying, not having the control, having so little control to help with the outcome and the bottom line is where this really came head to head. And the other thing I want to point out is, because I just feel like this is so missed, and there's so much fear around transitions. And this is for anybody, like anyone transitioning, like where they've been in the same line of work and industry for 20 years and are now like switching over to something completely different. What's really hard is there's fear in that because you've only known this, or you've developed and acquired these skills and like honed in your gifts to be like, I know I kill it in this and I crush it. But the thing we forget is that we actually, in us, in each person, there are so many other gifts and things that we are good at, but we just haven't had the time to, first of all, discover what the heck they are, like to explore and try things like we would with our kids, like putting our kids into a ton of different sports and art kind of projects and stuff, just to see, like, I don't know, do you like it? Are you good at it? We have to apply that to ourselves as adults in a transition as well, or even before the transition, just to see, like, what else am I good at and what else do I enjoy? Because that's such a big part, like, and where the fear can come in and lead to discouragement and keep us stuck in the pit of despair and depression, saying like, this is my biggest dream. It's the one dream I had as a kid. It's over now. Like, I'll never have another one. That simply isn't true. So I think that to counter the fear, it's so important to stay curious and to get curious about, like, I don't know, I've had this hunch or this inkling of wanting to try this. It might seem ridiculous. Like, just try it, because we do have so many other gifts and skills that we just have to explore and then cultivate and develop, which will help in the transition into something else. But so much of it too is our mental state, like reminding ourselves of what is true, keeping ourselves encouraged, like getting around, telling other people like that we need to help us along the way, you know?
Yeah, it is true. It's when we makeup in our mind that it has to look a certain way, it makes us closed-minded to a different way that it could look that could have been better.
Yes.
And now we avoid
Exactly.
that path that could have launched us. And I know I've been guilty of that, especially anybody that has a tendency towards great ambition. There's like a line that you constantly have to toe of how hard you go after those things and how much focus you put on it, and especially it looking that one way, because it very well could not. But there's also, it just does something to your energy where it makes it now not fun if if it has to, you just have to have it.
Yes.
And now all these traits and things that you're good at that people were noticing, and they're like, oh, this is great, and they see so much potential in you. It just, the energy, your energy starts to shift more towards the neurotic or towards, the desperate. And now people are like, that's just a repellent to anything you're really trying to do.
Yeah.
Especially in the performance world where you have an audition and things, like if you really need it and they sense
man.
that at all, it's, you lost.
Yep.
You got to keep it fun. It's good to be ambitious, but you got to be open-handed to let it go where it wants to go. And it might not be the right language, but not take it so seriously.
Right.
Especially if you're more wired that way towards the ambition. Like, you're not going to just be a slouch. You're not going to take it easy. Like, you take it serious, you hammer your craft, but at that point, like, that's all you can do. Like, don't try to control every little corner and turn and this and that. Now you're taken away from the moment and the way the breeze could go,
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Because it's being open to letting this take shape. Where what is the tendency that's so easy to do is to grab onto the outcome and say, this is the thing I want to do. This is exactly how I want it to look like. Then our mind will go into creating like a whole world around that. I mean, like, oh yeah, like this is all that it's going to look like. And then we grab onto it to try to control it when we cannot actually control that. And when we do try to grab on and take this death grip to it, we're no longer open to the path that we're meant to go down. We're, like you said, we can become neurotic, fear-based. We are very controlling in unhealthy ways, where we are closed-minded to other opportunities that could ultimately take us there, like lead there, but we can't possibly know what all of those steps are along the way. So it really is a discipline. Like, it is a discipline to discipline our minds to say, I'm going to choose, like, oh, there I go again. Like, I know this is what I hope for. I know this is what I would like to do. I'm going to choose to just stay being led and just taking it a step at a time, as scary as that feels. Like, that is the best approach to take. To stay at peace, to stay, and really to get to see really remarkable things happen.
Yeah, no doubt. That's the truth.
So you talked about ambition, and I want to explore that a little bit more. So how did ambition show up differently in you or for you? When was it healthy and when was it not?
Yeah, when was it healthy and when was it not? There's been a lot of periods of it being unhealthy. I'm trying to think of what healthy ambition looked like for me. It kind of felt like excitement, it was like, okay, this is cool to discover something new that I'm good at. And, there's that initial passion piece where that hits and you're like, oh, let's ride this wave. Like, let's see where this wave takes us. And then when it starts taking you some cool places and you start learning more and seeing more of what's out there, and you start comparing to the waves that other people are surfing, and now you're thinking, well, it has to look like this. I got to get to a 10-footer and I got to do this. And now this like fun, childlike play mode that you were in, that everybody was, saw so much potential in, is turning into this different energy where now it turns a little selfish, and it's, I need this, like I can only perform this way. And, I don't know.
And obsessive.
Obsessive. Yeah. It's a good word. And yeah, just trying to rein in kind of unconsciously and control the uncontrollables. And Healthy ambition. I've heard Jordan Rayner has talked a lot about it. He says it's from God, for God, and for the good of other people. And it's, I don't know if I've ever fully, been able to like grasp and rationally think through and grab onto the truth and walk in that. I'm sure I think it's more of a subconscious thing for me when I am in that place. And I just don't realize it and know how to put language to it.
Yeah.
But generally I'm in a better spot. I have more kind of bandwidth to be a good husband and father and show up better,
Yeah.
And I'm constantly trying to find my way on how to schedule my day or when to do my work blocks and things like that too. Because there is a piece of being ambitious to where I feel like I need to produce a certain amount each day in order to feel like I've made the day count. And again, I also have to get in solitude. So I wake up really early right now because I have kids, and order to, center myself and spend time with God and get a work block in and get something, created, feel like, okay, I got a big jump start on the day. Just allows me to be more present throughout the day, beyond the other work that I'm doing later on. But if I don't do that, I just feel kind of like rushed all day and like, oh man, the time's slipping away. The kids drained me, by the time I dropped them off at school, and I'm just sitting in the office just feeling like a loser. So yeah, I don't know. I'm continuing to try to find my way on that.
Yeah, it's good. Well, I think what I've noticed is because our default in our flesh, selfish ambition is going to take over. That's our flesh, right? It's naturally, that's what we as humans do as part of the unhealthy, ambitious side. But what I've noticed a big shift in you is your intentionality of catching it when it comes up, because you also can recognize more of the symptoms and the signs to look for when you are leaning towards that unhealth, right? So feeling short, being like, this is BS, like, why am I having to blah, blah, blah. So you're catching it to be like, hey, something's off here and I need to recalibrate. I need to come back, get centered, like which I think is huge, because it's unrealistic to say that you will never experience that and you'll never feel, lean into the unhealthy side of ambition. That's unrealistic. What's important is, as humans, is to know that's going to happen and to catch it early when it does and correct it. To say, like, I'm going to choose to move towards the healthy side where I'm still taking care of my responsibilities, but I'm making the changes of waking up early so I can fill myself up first in these ways, with meeting with God, getting by yourself in solitude, and then getting a first work block done. Like, that's good for you, and it helps the rest of our family.
Yeah.
So I think that's big.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you ever feel like you lost yourself in chasing success?
Maybe yes and no. I mean, it's hard. It's a hard question only because I don't feel like I ever necessarily, you're getting to know yourself the whole time through. Like, there's values that I have that I'm committed to, committed to faithfulness to you, committed to God, and, willing to die for that, my faith in those things. Do I always rationally, emotionally understand and walk in that? No. But I know I have those commitments, but actually knowing myself and like even how I operate and why I get so flustered at certain times of the day or when like I had no, and I'm still learning all that right now.
Yeah.
Like you don't know what you don't know. And so that I don't think I lost myself in that time. But I think, unhealthy versions of myself come out for every NFL player, all throughout, based on whatever triggers them and their vices and their personality traits and the tendency of what those turn into in unhealthy moments, during loss and hardship and things like that. Yeah, I mean, I think there like generally, people who know who I am have a good impression of me and know what I stand for. And there's definitely been moments throughout my careers that, you'd see a version of me that does not stand up to that, or like is just like, oh, I wouldn't expect Miles to just totally lose his top like that, and scream and throw something across the room or so, just everybody has their things, and when they get triggered, it can turn into something unhealthy if you don't have ways of coping, and continue to learn how to do that and carve out time to be able to center yourself and do those things. But we're all human, and we all crack at some point.
Right, we do. Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, and I think like what you were saying is learning, like developing coping, like healthy coping mechanisms. Because if we don't, we're going to lean towards unhealthy ones. Like we will figure out a way to cope with stress, pressure, all the things that come with it. What's coming to my mind is that quote that you told me about. I can't remember if it was, I want to say it was like Martin Luther King who said this quote, but about how most people basically, and maybe the quote itself will come up to you, but like generally it's about how, it's not just like you discovering who a man is in hardships and struggles. It's also like hand them success and see who they are. I don't know if you can remember that exact quote, but
yeah, that's certainly true, especially people that are power hungry. Like give them power or status or money, and one of those will often bring the others. Mm-hmm. And you're going to see who they really are.
Right.
You're going to see how their demeanor shifts. There's certain people it doesn't, and then there's certain people you're like, you're Mr. I can't tell you nothing now.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Okay. Big time. Good to know who you are.
Right.
And it's good to keep, an eye out even for like little bumps and increases to those things and how people respond. I mean, you see it, those tendencies even just in like elementary and junior high kids, but, or high school, like, the freshman versus like when that guy's a senior and he's just, he's a prick,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk now a little bit more about faith and redefining success and some of the growth that you've had. So how has your faith shaped your view of your career, especially in uncertain seasons?
Yeah, it's always been there. I mean, my faith has always been, since I accepted Jesus, around, I don't know, was it around junior high or so, eighth grade? It's always been the biggest element of my life, and the thing that I truly do run to, especially, when stuff's really on the line and you feel like the sky's falling. It's always, I go to God first, and I'm praying and try to do everything with him too, highs and lows. But anyways, just that's always been my foundation, and I'm glad that it is, because I swerve off of that foundation like all of us do constantly. Mm-hmm. But if I know and I've committed my life to it, and I know I'm always going to come back to that foundation. I always know when I get lost, I know what the right path is to get back to where I know I need to be. Because whenever I'm in him, everything makes sense all at once, But it's just so easy with the complexity of life and the amount of things that everybody's balancing, to feel weighed down and to feel utterly just confused and have no idea which way's up and what you're doing. And I feel all of that still constantly, sometimes daily, at certain parts of the day. But I know where my North Star is, Mm-hmm. It's been huge. And, even I think as of lately, like what I've been trying to learn is kind of unlearn some of the, and I don't want to knock it. Church was really great for me. There was, I think, maybe the era of church that we came up in, there was more of a tendency towards ritualism and religiousness, kind of a religious spirit in some ways, where, you just, I don't know how to explain it, but just, you're scared to like interact with anything on the world or anybody who like doesn't believe the exact same way that you do. And it naturally gives those kids kind of an energy towards like almost judgment, or like repelled towards people that don't believe the same that they do. And so it's been different, especially in entertainment, and going into that and realizing like feeling called to that space by God, and feeling called to like tell stories that are hope filled and have the kingdom underneath it without banging anybody over the head with it ever, and telling real, true stories of whatever that world looks like.
Yeah.
And then, you know, also having a balance like between sometimes, you know, I'm just on social media and I'm just doing a goofball post, you know, so that you don't always get context. And again, with that way that I grew up in the church, you start to want, like, almost want to second guess everything, and like, how is this going to be interpreted, and and you know, maybe I should only do, you know, Christian films, and so I've been able to like go to God with navigating that and find a lot more peace in understanding like the heart and the message that will be coming out with it, and yeah, kind of just not being even so critical of myself, you know?
Yeah, like realizing, I think that's helpful because, like you said, there can be the religious spirit that comes in, that where the reality is that God calls believers into every aspect of work, right? Like whether it's overtly Christian or not. And so I think because of that kind of in the back of your mind, or having some of those beliefs form, it was easy to feel like anything I do has to be overtly Christian. Like you said, like just very clear as day, spelled out, this is a Bible story in film form that I'm telling. It can't possibly be a story with redemption and like, you know, aligned, but it's not overtly and like explicitly saying in your face all these things.
Yeah.
And a book that I have absolutely loved is The Sacredness of Secular Work by Jordan Rayner. That is such a good one. Like that has been one of my favorites because he puts it in such clear language.
Yeah.
Really the importance of believers not just staying in the Christian workspaces, but we are needed all over the place.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's neat to hear that, and just how your faith has changed over the years, and the careers that you've been in, and how you even just see success now.
Yeah, it is cool. I feel like the older I get, you know, the more we see, the more pain we've been in, the more just grittier life moments we've had. You start to get to know Jesus, you know, from those elements and what we actually see in the Bible of him like meeting and, you know, eating with prostitutes and tax collectors and the scum of the earth back then in the hierarchy of status. And I feel like I've been able to, you know, come to him full of shame at moments, or and be there for others that have been in that moment, and be much more open to being able to just take on people's dirt and let them, you know, get it on me as we talk, you know, and meet and just let it be.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's been really, I think, cool.
Yeah, it has. That is really cool. And what I have found is what's been so refreshing is getting to, like, just from being married to you and getting to be in these careers with, again, people who have like succeeded what so many people dream of doing. There have been the rare few that we've met who are at the top of the top, and they don't play by our culture's rules with social status and hierarchy like that. They truly like see people who most people overlook, and they genuinely care about the heart of that person. And that has been the most refreshing thing, that like has just getting to witness that and see it in action, which is so rare. It has been so compelling for me, and being like, I deeply desire to be more like that too, because it is so rare, but that's also the model that we do have, you know, in scripture. So
so true.
All right. If you could sit down with your younger self chasing the NFL dream, what would you tell him now about success?
You got it.
Like now?
I'm looking at it. Oh. I'm hearing it. You guys probably can't hear this right now, but this whole podcast, we've got a noise canceling thing we've been hearing our dog.
She's supposed to be napping, and she's up early, so.
Oh, yeah. Not the whole podcast, but she's been yapping.
The last part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow, that's good. Talk about redefining success.
Yeah.
People, right?
Exactly. And that, I think just that have fun.
Man.
I think that's as simple as I would need to put it for my younger self, because I have such a tendency towards, again, the ambition and the drive and make it happen and productivity. And it's like, I know you don't have to worry about that. Just find a way to make it fun and have fun and keep that element, because it'd be a lot healthier that way.
Wow. That is really good. I actually wasn't expecting you to say that. Yep, that's so good. Well, I want to end with rapid fire questions. These are fun questions, so people listening will get to know you a little bit more, like different, random. It's going to be good. All right. What's a skill you wish you had, but you absolutely don't?
First thing that came was guitar.
Oh, that's a good one.
Not willing to learn.
You have tried. You have
These
tried.
fingers are not the guitarist
the crooked
fingers.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, they're permanently going to be like that. That's good. Okay. What's your worst audition story?
That's a good
one that's
question.
cringy.
Cringy. I don't know, man. I probably repressed it. I'm really good at that.
You're very good at that.
So good at repressing memories. Let's think here. I mean, I've been to one of my first ones. It still turned out well because he could see the talent. Paul. Paul Ruddy came out and chased me out afterwards. He's like, "Hey, man, you're really good. Just keep at it." He encouraged me. I really needed it at the time. It was one of my first auditions, and I was like so nervous. I was like, my voice was shaking. He said, "You just gotta relax a little more. You're gonna be all right." I was like, "All right, yeah."
All right. What is your most embarrassing NFL moment?
Most embarrassing NFL moment? Oh man, that's a lot more painful to think of. I don't know if I want to.
I can think of one, but I don't know if it would be.
Go for it.
No, I mean, I want to hear from you first.
Well, missing a tackle that, went for a touchdown, that one hurts. That's embarrassing.
Live television in front of millions of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Okay, not to bring up a sore anymore.
This is the fun segment.
That was meant to be. I thought it was going to be something completely different.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. But I do have one that maybe this is embarrassing. I don't know. But I thought it was kind of funny. I think it was your first game. And you're out there with starting. And it's just a bunch of crap talk going on, right? So you're like, yeah, okay, I guess this is what we do. So you start crap talking. Do you remember?
Yeah, I was just talking smack to freaking, was it Ronnie Brown? I think that was his name. He was big. He had a great career as a running back. He went to Auburn. And he was saying something, and I was getting greasy on him. He said, "I don't even know who the hell are you. I don't know who you are." I was like, "Damn, I don't have anything for that right now." You don't.
It was like one of your first games.
Yeah. I've replayed it in the mirror since. I said, "Yeah, 5'6" Burris. You'll find out soon." Damn it, I still can't do it.
Still stuns.
Yeah, he still wins every time.
Yeah. Okay, this is a good one. This is a fun one. What's your favorite guilty pleasure snack?
Guilty pleasure snack? Oh man, I got so many things. First thing that came to my mind was Cool Ranch Doritos, a whole bag of that, or
family size.
Like a pint of Ben and Jerry's, the one with cookie dough and brownie bits in it. Dropping the name of it. Maybe it was the Tonight Dough.
Yeah, Jimmy Fallon's.
Yeah, and then man, there's a lot there, but ice cream or chips, all sweet or all savory at some points,
Yeah, you typically eat those right before bed.
Yeah.
All right. If you had a walk-up song for life right now, what would it be?
Walk-up song for life. Probably something by Forrest Frank. Heaven on This Earth, maybe.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's just a banger, That's why.
Yeah.
It gets the blood pumping a little bit.
One that you'll listen to working out.
Yeah.
If you could relive one game or one role, which would it be?
Relive one game or one role. I feel like I'm attacking that from, trying to make a bad game or performance like better. So I don't know how to answer that, if that's supposed to be a good one because it was great or
Well, it's however you want.
yeah.
It could be something that was fun or enjoyable, like you'd want to do it again instead of like a critical.
Yeah, I think the season opener, my first ever regular season game, I think it was Sunday Night Football, and maybe the first Monday Night Football game of the year. And I went out against the Chargers at home and led the team in tackles and was flying around having a good time.
That's awesome. Wow. Yeah. Thanks. I guess I got to work on the fun questions section, but thanks for answering those.
Yes.
All right. Well, Miles, thank you so much for being here today and for being willing to share most parts that people don't get the chance to see or hear about.
Yeah. Some parts only you get to see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know that so many people listening are going to see themselves somewhere in your story. So like the chasing, the pressure, wrestling with identity. And I just want to say thanks for being real with us.
Thank you.
One thing that I hope people walk away with today is knowing that reaching the dream, it really is not what makes us whole. It's learning who we are apart from what we achieve. That's really where freedom starts. And that's what I've heard from you, even just saying like telling your former self, go have fun, right? Because it's not defining you. It's not who you are. Just there's the freedom and fun.
Yeah.
If today's conversation hit home for you, I'd love for you to share it with a friend who might need to hear it too. Thanks for being here, and let's keep getting real.
Keep it real, baby.
Thanks for listening to Let's Get Real. If something from today's episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a conversation. Until next time, remember that in order to heal, we have to get real. Talk to you soon, friend.